Joining us now for more discussion, former Centcom commander in Afghanistan, we bring in Admiral William Fallon. Admiral Fallon, thank you, sir, for your time. May I ask at the top, this is what's bugging me as much as anything in what I regard as a series of catastrophic blunders. But, the Taliban is going to take over the levers of government in Kabul. They are not duly constituted, certainly not elected. And my thought here is they should not be recognized. Your thinking?
Well, clearly this is in the political lane, but by my understanding, this is an armed insurgency that's basically taken over the government by force. So it seems to me that this doesn't meet any criteria in my mind as a legitimate government. Until and unless they form some kind of an alliance with other political types, non-Taliban within the country, it seems to me it's an insurgent group, and I'd be hard-pressed to understand how we could recognize this as a legitimate government.
I think of it, sir, as a violent coup d'etat.
Well, I think it's more than that. It's a long-standing military takeover of this country. This group, as you know, the history, they've been around a long time. They've been opposing us. They ruled the place. Maybe that's a stretch. They were the landlords back when we ousted them 20 years ago. And what I find exceedingly frustrating is here we are 20 years on, and we have almost the exact same scenario with the same characters in charge, the Taliban, and violent insurgent groups that are in the country, as we saw probably the folks that perpetrated this ugly bombing attack at the airport the other day. Very, very disconcerting, and it's sickening to me, given all the effort and the sacrifice that's gone into this. I think this whole move is totally unnecessary. The war, essentially, the operational combat for the U.S. ended 5 or 6 years ago. And you look at the reality of the last year and a half, we've fortunately, until this past week, had no casualties at all. We were in an advisory and an assistance role, providing very essential support to the Afghan armed forces, but we'd essentially withdrawn down to what I considered a pretty reasonable bare minimum. And I think this whole business of saying we're either in or we're out, it's black or white, we're going to withdraw, is pretty ludicrous to me, because if you look around the world, the U.S. has military folks in virtually every country in some numbers doing any number of things, typically liaison, instruction, training, assistance, a whole range of things. But the idea that we're in or we're totally out is really nonsense. And it also, by the way, go back to Iraq. We basically did this in 2009, and you saw what happened. We ended up having to go back in again. If we'd left some folks on the ground to be our eyes and ears to figure out what's going on, we might have been able to prevent that. And now we're back in a very, very similar situation, I fear, in Afghanistan. It's very disconcerting to me.
You know, sir, former Ambassador Ryan Crocker, whom you know, and is a veteran and has enormous knowledge about that whole area, including Afghanistan, sure, where he served as ambassador twice. He said to me, I guess it was last week or so, better off to have maintained the status quo. That total withdrawal was not a good idea, that the status quo, you had this government imperfect. Yes, you had the Taliban, but they were still at arm's length. There was peace. People were not getting killed, and life was going on. Do you think Ryan Crocker is right? We should have stayed with the status quo and not had this total withdrawal?
Yeah, I certainly agree with Ambassador Crocker. I think he's spot on. I had the pleasure to work with him in Iraq when he was our ambassador there, but he's got the exact correct view. Again, this is nonsense, this binary, everybody in or everybody out. It just is not reality, and it's clearly a political move. So I think it's going to be interesting as we go forward. You know, of course, that a number of the former leaders have withdrawn up to the north in the Panjshir Valley, and this is not quite sure how this is going to play out. It's a very, very rugged place, difficult to get at. I know some of the leaders, people that I work with in the past, that are up there now, and I've been there myself. And so it's a place of resistance. Now, I think in the big scheme of things, sooner or later, there will have to be some kind of a political accommodation within within Afghanistan. Those people, the various factions, are going to have to come together. But I am very skeptical that any kind of reasonable process is going to go forward once the Taliban have us completely out of there. Is their goal. And then I'm concerned about them just reverting to the same old type of behavior that we saw before,
yep.
which is going to be very, very tragic for the citizens of that country.
I've got 45 seconds, Admiral Fallon. Just occurs to me, we have let Afghanistan turn into a homeland for terrorism. And how the heck are we going to deal with that? They're going to come after us. They're not our partners, sir, as you know. They are our enemies.
Well, it's going to be very difficult, particularly having to deal with this thing at arm's length. So as we see in other places around the world where terrorist groups, violent extremists take root, we will have to, from time to time, if we get the right intelligence, want to go out and try to preclude them from attacking us. And that's much more difficult when we don't have eyes and ears and a footprint nearby that we can actually use to react. So we're going to have to come at this from some distant, remote area, probably using remote means, and that's not nearly as effective as being able to try to thwart these things as they develop.
All right. Admiral William Fallon, thank you, sir. We appreciate your input very much.